Guy quit his job thinking he became rich. Hey, new to Reddit. I thought I would post my story here. I work for a construction company and we do remodeling on homes. We have a rule here that we get to keep anything we find hidden behind the walls. We hired this guy, we really needed a worker badly, who was a total a-hole from day one. I've been working for this company for 5 years and this guy has only been doing construction for 1 year after he got fired from his accounting job for getting a Dewey. Anyways. He would always make fun of my clothes and my accent, and one day he went too far by telling my boss about my private Instagram account pics. He got on my phone and looked through my Instagram page and showed my boss pictures of me smoking weed. Little did he know that my boss is my friend from 8 years when we used to smoke together before we both quit. I was so mad that he violated my privacy, then I made a plan to fuck him over. He was the kind of guy who would always come in late and complain that trains or traffic is why he was always late. One day I overheard him saying that if he won the lottery he would quit this job for not getting the respect he deserves. You have to earn your respect here. One day I bought some fake gold coins online and I put them in a metal box I found at the antique store and waited for a chance to hide it in a wall. Luckily I did not have to wait long. The day he found the coins it seemed like it was his best day ever. First thing he did when he opened the box. He called my boss a fing loser and he quit immediately on the spot. He said, "F this place. I am rich. Lol." Little did he know that was the best day of my life. After he quit my boss told us that he was going to fire him anyways for always showing up late. I wish I could see the look on his face when he finds out the gold coins are fake. Best $40 I spent in my life. I apologize for my grammar. This just happened today and my adrenaline is pumping hard. Thanks for reading. Yeah, actually my own cousin got a Dewey while being young and dumb, but he still landed a job at a good accounting firm. He even told them about it at the interview, though they would find out anyway, so no point in lying there. He probably got fired there for being late all the time and acting like he is way above the job he was currently doing. The thing is, you have to work to get there. That's how you prove your worth, not by being a douchebag. DUIs aren't frowned upon as hard as some may think. Unless it's a job that requires you to drive most of the time and you don't have like 3 or 4 of them. I think most would be surprised how many working professionals have DUIs on their record. I worked at Hertz Rent-A-Car for a bit out of college. One of the local editions, aka non-airport locations, where we mostly rented to customers at body and service shops who needed loaners, which means we had to deliver the car to the shop. That means we'd either have to drive 2 cars over and bring 1 back, or stage a bunch of cars early in the morning there and have an agent move them around when a customer needed a car. Needless to say, there was a ton of driving for everyone, including managers or, in a pinch, even upper management if they were on site, every single day. Well, our assistant manager got a DUI. Somehow, he was still able to keep his job. Which is saying something, considering the turnover in a place like that. Seems like if any place would cut you loose for a DUI it would be a multinational car rental company that requires driving and is used to replacing people constantly. But, still. Nope. We were about to buy a building that turns out had asbestos in the walls. Told the owners. They acted like they didn't know. Building was on the market for a while. Plenty of inspections would have been done before ours. They wouldn't drop the price they were selling it though. Building is still for sale 3 years later, in a great area too. I work in insulation. I find that shit if I'm doing retrofits all the time, at least once a fortnight. Predictable behavior from my company though, is to have another guy who will work in the shit come in a few days later. One day I found the stuff, and I overheard him tell the customer that guys like me think I'll live forever. What a dick. Had to vent. Fuck that guy. That happened at a hotel my old boss used to manage. The renovation crew found asbestos. OSHA came in that night and shut the hotel down. They woke the customers up and forced them to leave. My boss had to help everyone find other accommodations. She worked there for another few months while they were shut down for asbestos removal. Her job at that point was to relocate any guest that made reservations. For whatever reason they were unable to shut off reservations. A manager from my company called her and told her we were hiring. She didn't think twice about leaving. Reminds me of one of the most mesmerizing YouTube channels I've stumbled upon. Some guy acquires extremely old military food packs and opens them, often sampling bits of the stuff inside, provided it wasn't totally rancid or clearly spoiled. The dude has eaten copious biscuits and assorted food items dating as far back as the 1930s or possibly even earlier IIRC, and smoked a few cigs in these packs that were ancient as well. He has a very pleasant, wholesome demeanor, and reacts amusingly with an enthusiasm for his hobby that is infectious. Dug up his channel in case anyone is interested. Steve 1989 MRE info. Perhaps not quite ASMR material. But all the same his vids were very enjoyable and interesting in my opinion. This is hilarious, thanks. First video I picked was a 1969 sea ration. He opens a bulging can of a cheese spread that shoots nasty cheese air everywhere. He smells it and gags and says, "What is that?" Like, dude, it's a nasty ass cheese gas that has been canned for like 50 years. Has me laughing so hard. That reminds me of when I took a semester in China. Cigarettes were crazy cheap there, so I figured picking up a pack would be an easy souvenir for some of my friends who smoked. I ended up grabbing a couple packs the day before I left and didn't know any brands, so I just picked whatever was cheap. Ended up being about 16 cents a pack when packs were around $10 back where I lived. So anyways, my friend smoked one of these and nearly quit smoking then and there. We did some research and the pack I bought him had 32x more tar than the legal limit in the US. He enjoyed keeping them in his coat to give to anyone who asked to bum a cig. Usually this meant they would never ask for one again. Although eventually a Polish friend of ours got hella drunk during a D&D game and chain smoked his whole pack. I have no clue how he lived. When I was living in a rental house, when I was 19, I would hide my diary in hole in the closet. It balanced precariously on a beam and one day it fell completely into the hole. I left it there because I could only retrieve it if I made a hole in the wall. Fast forward to 10 years later, I get a Facebook message from a guy the first don't recognize who asked me if I ever had a boyfriend named blank, and a couple other details. He wanted to know if I was the owner of a diary he found. I confirmed that it was me and I asked him if he was a construction worker who found it behind a wall. He said no, that he had just moved into a house, and it was in a box full of creepy things in the attic. The box also contained messed up dolls and pornographic pictures. He asked if those were mine as well and I laughed and said no. Also, the house he found them in was not the same house I lived in. I'm guessing a construction worker had found my diary and put it with a collection. The person who Facebook messaged me mailed me my diary after that. It was interesting because I had it during 9/11 and it's just trippy to read things from your past. I wondered too how much of my diary the construction worker had read as well as the person who messaged me. I would have probably read all of it to be honest. At our last house we did a full rip and reno on the second bedroom. It had not been fully redone since it was built in the 60s. You know that spot where the doorknob goes through the wall if you don't protect it? It had been patched at least 20 times based on the paint, plaster layers. Newspaper was from the 60s as well, used to fill the hole the first time. At the bottom of the studs below the hole was a large collection of random stuff a kid would stick in the random hole in his wall. Homework, Lincoln logs, candies and some cookies, disturbingly good condition on those too. Kinda fun to learn some stuff about someone who was probably nearing retirement today, but lived there in the past. Never got a full name, so we could not look them up. He signed his homework with only his common first name. It was not valuable, but it was a fun distraction sorting that out. We left it behind for the new owners with a note when we sold the place. My coworker found $1,000 on top of a medicine cabinet covered in a thick layer of dust. The lady that owned the house said it must have belonged to the previous owners, so she let the company have it as a bonus. $500 to him and the person who was doing my job at the time. Edit. I was also working on a childhood friend's old house from years back and I found her care card behind the fireplace, so that was interesting. I have thousands more stories of thing I find in walls and I've only been doing construction for 8 months lol. When I was remodeling my downstairs bathroom on my nearly 100-year-old Wisconsin house, I ripped out a chunk of plaster and lath ceiling. I got showered in thousands of rusty razor blades. That's when I learned the slit in the side of old medicine cabinets was to discard of old razor blades. That was sketchy shit for me.